breaking my family. You know what I mean? Like, because like I feel like a lot of what you said, like you made specific points for me in the beginning, but I feel like a lot of what you said beyond that only relates to people who are free enough to just walk away. You know what I mean? Whereas me, like I have two little guys like that are used to seeing the both of us every day. You know what I mean? So what if ultimately she can't bear the idea of me seeing other people and seeing my face every day, and then suddenly that separates us, and then but I guess they suffer by association because we split for our own reasons, but then they're sitting there wondering why they don't see us both every day anymore.
I guess I want to ask, because I want to let Blake go, I guess I want to ask like even a question in the sense of like a child. I'm not anybody's parent, but I'm a child and I have multiple fathers. But my mom married multiple times. I have two fathers that I claim, and then a whole bunch of other motherfuckers. So it's like when you say it touched me when you said break the family up. It's kind of like it reminds me of when niggas think they got so much power over women, where like I'm gonna do this to hurt the woman. How do you know that's what you're doing to them as children? What are you thinking? Even y'all not living in the same home. Why is automatically that breaking up your home? And let me just finish. The reason I think about that is because I think about women that are womanists and feminists, and they live in a world where men have nothing to do with their family homes, and the men being sperm donors and not living there and also being fathers does not break up the home. So I'm coming to you with a lens that you're not used to, right? Because as somebody that I'm assuming is cishet, I'm coming to you with like a queer lens. Like I know lesbians that they got babies, the baby father is there, he's a father. And they're both the mother, and the father comes in and he doesn't live there. And I know babies that are 6 years old, and they know their daddy, and they know both their mothers, and there's nothing wrong with the babies. You feel me?
Yeah.
I also think there's an assumption that you don't think your kids are processing at a high level. Kids process at a very high level from age 5. I was processing that I was different.
I mean, they're 2 and 4.
But what I'm saying, right? But even they're that young, so they don't even actually know what's going on. Right? Yeah. By the time they start to even pull concepts together, y'all may have already been separate. So that's their starting point. Right. That their normal is already a happy co-parenting environment, right? Yeah. And one of the things I put down here when we was talking, it was like the reason that your mind is like that is because our grandparents stayed together when they shouldn't have. And I say this all the time. Our grandparents should have gotten divorced. A lot of our grandparents should have not continued to be beat up. Yeah. Because we know that there are grandmothers who are still with grandfathers, and we celebrate their 50th anniversary, but we also know that in the 60s he was beating the shit out of her. Yeah. In the 70s he was cheating on her. And in the 80s he was doing something else. But now that they always look beautiful, right? And you think it's all rosy that these couples have made it 50 years, but a lot of them should not have been together. And I think if there was a system in place, because there was no system in place for them not to be together. Yeah. Now there are systems in place for people to co-parent. And there are systems in place for people to thrive and not be together. Yeah. And I think the more we start to see that, the more we start to see family dynamics that look different. And see, I grew up with, I guess, I don't ever say a brother, like I don't ever say half brother, half sister, but I grew up with a half brother and half sister who had a different mom. So I already had a blended family. So I didn't know anything, I didn't know that was different. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that other families like had these type of issues. I grew up with transgender cousins. Yeah. I didn't know that every other family didn't have transgender people until I went to other people's families and realized they didn't have transgender people. Yeah. So I think a lot of it is, like you said, there's this fear that, well, if I do this, it's going to turn into a Tyler Perry movie. Like, because everything doesn't turn into a Tyler Perry movie, right?
I should contextualize this. Quick, sorry, I didn't mention this before, but both my son's mother grew up in foster care, and I grew up in a single parent home. So that I guess matters to me more.
I really want to clarify something in the sense of like, I'm not saying that just because a partner is non-monogamous and another partner is monogamous or wants monogamy currently, that relationship should inherently break up. What I am saying is that if you find that you are unhappy and that you are constantly craving something that isn't there, and it is starting to affect your relationship, with that other partner and your kids, then things need to change. Just obviously, because your kids are going to know, your partner knows, and just because you feel like it's your noble duty to blah, 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 that's really cis hetero shit.
Yeah.
That's really that socialization bullshit. That you feel, again, that you have the power to make or break your family.
Yeah.
Right. By just not being there, or just not being monogamous. It's not that you aren't going to be there. Because, I'll even take it away from you. Hypothetically, a father that loves his children, and you're going to be there regardless. But if you weren't happy in the home, that, that does more harm and causes more trauma than anything else.
Yeah.
So it's really about, are you happy? And are you able to have a happy relationship? And as long as the answer is yes, you just would like something else, then maybe you can wait, or maybe things can change, or maybe that's a conversation you can have with the partner about maybe when the kids are older, or maybe this and that, and you can set boundaries around that or make agreements. That's why having an open conversation with your partner about feelings matters, because then at that point, it can be this is how I'm feeling, what can we do about that? Is this something I need to work on myself and not involve you? Or should I just let you know what's going on and maybe we can work something out that makes you comfortable? But if it's starting to hurt the kids, which again, like you've said, a lot of our parents and grandparents talk around when they really shouldn't have, and it hurt us. And it taught us values that harmed us forever, because a lot of us, if we've raised our hands, have been in relationships that were hurting us or hurting the other person. Because we felt like we needed to be, because length matters more than quality in this society.
Delancey had brought up something earlier that I think it'd be nice for us to get in touch on. It's just how, and we've been getting into it, how sometimes when anybody who's non-monogamous or polyamorous talks about it, it's romanticized in this way where it's not quite as easy. And a couple of just two things for me personally that come to mind is witnessing and experiencing is and I don't know if it's toxicity or whatever it is, but I'm non-monogamous and polyamorous. However, when women come at me certain type of ways and my girl's around, I like when she get leave my nigga alone. I like when she be don't look at that nigga, don't breathe by that. I be hold up, you know what I'm saying? Don't touch me, you better not say nothing. So these are the parts that not a lot of shit. You know, just
give me a little bit of that talk.
That count is bond, just a little bit, that. But so that's the part that it does get, it just gets a little muddy, because in it, I guess, in us being non-monogamous and polyamorous, I still be wanting, and I guess I don't know if it's toxicity, I don't know what it is, but I still want her to be a little bit obsessive.
Here's what I'll say to that as somebody I'm into the kink scene. I've been in the kink scene since I was I've been into kink since I was 18. Well, to the moment I could, so 18 years old. And what I'll say to that is that's what kink is for. If that sounds like that's a kink or a fetish or something, role play that shit then. Role play what jealousy looks like. Whatever toxic shit that kind of gets you off or you might be into, verbalize that clearly to your partner, and maybe y'all can role play that in a consensual way instead of bringing it up in a way that's going to damage the relationship.
It's not all.
It happened where a dude literally just was and it was a butch queen, so not to say that butch queen, whatever, but he was just you beautiful. And I mean, I'm butch queen. And it was just the way it went down, and to have that room, when we talk about it's not easy to have that room, to talk about how I'm having to check damn, is this possession? I don't really like how that nigga came with you. He was oh, you beautiful. And then it made me feel invisible. And also that's my identity, a lot of other things coming in. And it made me want to kind of one of my things I usually say is she good. When niggas come at my girl, I be yo, she good. Even with a non-romantic, non-sexual. If somebody come at a woman around me, femme person, and they good and they it's just being real about we know niggas. I am a nigga. So I know one of those you beautiful on some oh my god, you just beautiful on some you beautiful, and I'm imagining fucking the shit out of you right now. I know the difference between that. So the beautiful that he was given was on some, I saw his thoughts in his brain and my jealousy ticked off. And it's wild because we are non-monogamous and polyamorous and still having to sit down and have that talk where babe, having to unpack everything, yo, I'm trans masculine, I'm not a cis dude, also that was a cis dude, like it's a lot going on right now, and also it feels good for niggas to come up to you and be like, oh, you so fine, because I'm like, I did that, you know, she's going
at the end of the day, a lot of us are non-monogamous here, but that doesn't change the way we were raised.
Yeah.
And a lot of that needs to be unpacked or not unpacked depending on our personal feelings and how comfortable we feel. But jealousy is a real fucking emotion.
I don't technically deal with women hitting on my girl, or more specifically feminine women hitting on my girl as much as I do masculine people, period. So for me, I be having to check it. I don't feel the same when it's a feminine person. And that's a part of internalized homophobia and so like mad shit there that I be having to be like,
y'all are criticizing non-monogamy when you for the ideology of it, but in practice, like you niggas suck. And I will also say there are structural issues too, right, with it, right? Because there aren't like systems in place that support. I mean, just like we had to fight for marriage equality, right? So it's like there really aren't systems in place. Like if you're a person who wants to have multiple wives, like there aren't systems in place in the United States for that to happen. Even though we know the importance of when you're married to someone, there are tax benefits, and there are, if I die, there are the assets move a certain way. So there are actually like policy issues that you have to start to discuss if you want to make like non-monogamy a thing that can be practiced even past an ideology, right? Because again, if you're going to take it to a place that is not just about the sex, then it could get to that place of marriage between multiple people, because it's not a thing. And because it's not a thing, like you said, once you start to have kids, potentially kids over here, and like you said earlier, you got 4 kids over here and 3 kids over here. They don't know each other. The man died. Now you got 7 kids fighting for assets that don't know each other. Now you got DNA tests involved.
That's how brothers and sisters.
And so that's how. And again, like that's how.
Jesus Christ, you got
it. For real.
But again, I think it goes back to the fact like there are no structures in place for him to even have the conversation with these 2 women about having 2 households, right? There isn't even a structure in place to discuss something like that. But many of us have come from families where we have men in our families who have kids outside of marriage, or like our parents had brothers and sisters that we didn't know about, or brothers and sisters that we did know about,
or we had brothers
and sisters that we don't know about, or brothers and sisters that we did know about and then didn't connect to until much later in life, because there was no such thing as a blended family dynamic that looked like something that was acceptable. That was acceptable in the church, and that was acceptable in the community, and that was acceptable in society. And so I think this conversation has to now start to shift to, okay, if this is really something we want to be able to participate in, how do we then create the systems, and how do we then create the community, and how do we create I guess even visibility and representation of what this looks like, and have enough people talking about what it looks like, how you navigate it, the problems with it, because it's not all roses, like, you know, and the communication level,
So I'm, you know how, like you said, you grew up like with your extended blended family, right? I'm getting a vasectomy to explicitly avoid that, so that I can be openly non-monogamous, and like let's be real, like you're not gonna use protection every single fucking time. Like shit happens, like whatever, how you feel about a person, like all that shit comes into play, right? And then stuff happens, you know what I mean? And I'm a very firm believer, like, to keep it a bill with you, like everybody that knew me before I had kids, knew I actively denounced the idea of children. That shit grossed me the fuck out. I hated it. I was like, why would I have kids when I could buy a boat? It made kids made no fucking sense to me, right? So, but I'm just very and I've always been very honest about this, and so the way I became a father was not through. I did not decide to be a dad. You know what I'm saying? But because I sit in my pro-choice ideals, like, well, I don't really want to be a dad, but it's not really up to me anymore. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think when it boils down to like non-monogamy and how that relates to that sort of thing, that's a whole other conversation. It's like, okay, who are you even willing to go this far with, and what are you going to do to protect yourself from that possibility of having 2 whole households to keep secret from each other happening? And the way I'm doing it is a motherfucking mistake.
Is that reversible?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's the tangible thing.
That's the tangible thing.
But it is reversible.
And just to challenge something you said, like anytime you make a decision to have sex, you make a decision to be a father.
Hello.
So I just want
That's
to cherish
right.
that because it was like,
That's
because
right.
then it was almost like you put it on her, like
That's
you get to
right.
make the decision being pro-choice. It's like, well, no, you made the decision long before it got to our point.